Moving forward, Sergii will present a topic which is quite interesting, most interesting for gamers, I would say. A lot of trolls on the chats over there. But please, the stage is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for a nice introduction. Yeah, so I'm a software developer working for 20 Minuten, and our team actively developing 20min.ch website, where we have to deal with trolls a lot. And the reason I picked this topic is that I think this is a concern pretty much of any online platform. As soon as you give a possibility to user to talk to each other, there is starting with some inappropriate comments one or other way. So this talk will be our experience, how we deal with these situations, and how we block inappropriate comments. So that's more or less our battlefield, if you can call it like this. On the left, you see the form. So under some stories or articles, we have really simple form. It's just about tell us your name, say what you have to say, and send your comment. And if it's fine, it will appear on the website. So with this kind of simplicity, the complexity of filtering those comments growing a lot, because you don't have here like, hey, enter something from picture or pick the picture of the plane or whatever they have right now. So on the right, you see the way how comment will appear on the website. So normally, like when you have audience of, let's say 100 people, maybe one of them will be troll. If you have 1,000 people, maybe 10 people will walk around and post inappropriate comments. So talking about the numbers that we have, so during the day, it's quite normal to have 20, 30 new comments coming every minute. We have about 20K comments a day in average. And you see that many of them getting rejected. So with this amount of comment, you already can't forget about such options as review everything manually, because, well, this will be problematic. Either you need a lot of people doing this on the full time, or comments will appear on the website like 3 days after, and it's not really a discussion or conversation that is happening there. For us, we do most of those rejections or acceptance automatically. It's about only 10% of those comments reviewed manually and need to be approved by a human. The rest is going absolutely automatically. Yeah, so there are many people talking trash in comments, and it's a complex thing to text processing and recognizing like what is bad, like define bad, what do we have to filter. Like there is obvious spam, or we are well saved, like protected from automated comments with some captcha and signatures that we have, but still there are bad comments and they are difficult to recognize. We knew this from the beginning before we started, that it's really challenging, so we didn't even start to do it, developing everything on our own. So let's say this example. You look at this, took you probably 2 seconds to see, hey, it says fuck. But in order to write this, I haven't even used any character. It's all like with some special characters. There is no letters here. And if you think like from programmer perspective, like how would you map this to an actual word, or how would you like do you map it the whole word, like to say this combination of symbols is like inappropriate? But that's really fragile, and you can introduce some spaces or replace one character with another, and it's already like break your system. So from the beginning, we went with the approach of using Perspective API. Google Perspective API, they offer API for free, where you can just send a text and have a certain checks how appropriate this text, if it's toxic, and it's really simple to use. We just send the text that we are getting from the user, and as a response, it's not like yes or no, like toxic or not toxic, but more like a probability. So we send a text and we're getting as a response like 42, let's say, and that will be the probability how like toxic this text is in opinion of Google perspective. So we extended it and we use it for all the possibility that Perspective API offers us, and it's like checking for if this text is insult, if it's threatening somebody, if it's identity attack, and all these things can be checked by this API. So this API doesn't tell us if a comment is inappropriate. That's up to us to decide what is inappropriate, what is our level of toxicity that we can allow on our website. And for us, we defined like everything that has below 60%, that will just appear on the website right away. Between 60 and 80, we would like to have a look on this, like at least one human have to have a look on this comment and decide if it's appropriate or not. And for the rest, it will be rejected and nobody will ever look at this. We did at the beginning, but then we realized that this system is really good and we can trust it. And that's the point, that we reduce this manual work that we have there. And of course, there are different kinds of news. So we defined kind of like a risk levels. So those are two examples of news. Like on the left, you see what we call low risk news. So the news here is like two deers had a fight on the middle of the street. It's like this topic is not sensitive, like it's touched nobody's feeling. There is hardly to write something to offend anyone there. And on the other hand, we have this demonstrant on the anti-racist demo started a fire, which is like almost opposite topic. It's like I have a feeling that when even writing something neutral there, it might hurt somebody's feeling or can easily be seen as inappropriate. So we cannot treat those news in the same way. That is why we said the second one as the high risk. And we just have to adjust our bars, what we are willing to accept. And we can easily change those because we introduce these levels, and in terms of code, it's very easy to adjust, and we can set those rules based on the risk levels. Yeah, that everything will fine until Dünnschisk. For non-German speaker, it's like a diarrhea or something, saying in the bad way. This is a word that, in terms of like Perspective API, doesn't see it as inappropriate in a way that it's not insult, even though it's really on the middle. So we still don't want to have this on our website, and we are not willing to put our bars even lower for toxicity levels. That is why we just introduce block lists, which means that certain words are just not allowed to use on our website. We have like different kinds of block lists, what we are blocking, and which means that if you write nicest comment in the world and you still have certain words that are used from block list, it's not coming through. It will be filtered. So the other thing interesting is block list phrases. When you take normal words, but the combination, what they the sentences that they are forming, they just inappropriate. Black lives don't matter, for instance. This is just an appropriate sentence, rather provocative, and we don't want to have it, even though every word in the sentence is fine. So we have these block phrases to catch those as well. And we are blocking for other things like users and IPs as well. So talking on the technical side of things, we add those different steps of what we want to block, and it still remained the same complexity on the front end side. So for us, front-end will be React.js. It's not important in this case, which communicates with the only single point of truth, the common service, which communicate with everything that this service needs. And it can be reCAPTCHA, prospective API, different block lists, and we can add more and more. And it will still just be a simple interface where you just send the comment, and as a response, you always get the same response from common service, which is, thank you, we'll think about this. And normally the decision is made within 1 second. Like for 90% of the comments that we are getting, within 1 second, it's an answer, yes or no. And for a very little percent of comments, that will be manual review, which means some delay and somebody have to have a look on this comment, because our system like not able to tell for sure where it's should be grouped. Yeah, so at this point we were already like well covered, I would say, and that was a matter of looking for certain patterns. So we still have some small portion of comments that are coming through and supposed to be filtered, but they weren't. And it's really about looking at those comments and think what do they have in common. And one of the patterns that we noticed is that comments that are written with caps lock. Like if you have the whole comment exclusively with caps lock, we looked at 100 of those comments, last 100 comments that were written with caps lock, and it's like never something good. Like apparently people pissed off, turn on caps lock and write everything what's on their mind. So it's not really like a structured conversation happening there, but most of the time it's just offenses. Yeah, then we started to notice certain links that people post from specific domain zones that happen to be spam or porn websites. So we started to block only certain domain zones, websites from specific domain zones, but then very quickly we just switched to block them all, because people sharing link, it's very rarely something they really want to point out some different interesting information, but mostly it's just some spam, and they try to get attention to their porn website or whatever. Which like the feedback to this was something like, okay, I won't write domain in comment, but something like, hey, replace this with a dot and replace this with that and copy paste this in URL bar, and you will get to this awesome porn website. And to be honest, like when I saw this comment at the beginning, I didn't have an answer immediately how we're supposed to block them or recognize that the spam. But the interesting thing is that even before we come up with any measurements against this, most of them just gave up doing this, because there are much easier ways of finding porn in internet than copying, replacing dot with something and doing something else. And it's just those apparently didn't get much feedback and much back traffic. And most of them stopped doing this. There are still some, and we are just introducing measurements like specific to those examples, like those couple of spammers that keep posting links in this way, even though obviously it doesn't bring anything for them. Yeah, so basically that was my talk. To summarize it, I can tell that it's ongoing process. It's not something that we can just mark as done and forget about it. It's really like back and forth. Like we come up with some new measurements, some new filters, and trolls, spammers, they find their way to do what they are doing. So for now, I think we are doing fine, and there is still room for improvement, and we are getting better every day. So thank you for your attention. I will be happy to get any questions or maybe suggestions or your experience from your side.
Absolutely interesting topic. I pick a few of the questions here. I struggle with spam and fraud myself, so I was enjoying the talk a lot. So there's one question seems to be quite keen to be answered. A lot of people looking for that. So how do block lists work? Do you block people who also write a certain number of toxic comments? For how long they get blocked? Is there any dangers of them re-registering with new accounts?
So yeah, at the moment we don't really have a registration. It's at the moment we are considering this, but as I said at the beginning, it's like we have really simple way of leaving a comment on the website, which for us increase complexity of filtering those. And people, of course, can use VPN, just using account, let's say, in incognito mode, or using VPN, changing their IP. That would make go them through this block list filters per IP and per user ID. The way we manage it, it's just every moderator that moderate comments and decide what's appropriate or not can block user per IP and per user ID, kind of like block user session and his or her IP. And those lists are managing, and as soon as editor, let's say, add certain record in this block list, we start to use it right away. So it's kind of like a CMS in a way, and it really looks like a list, and it's easy like to add one new item in a list. It can be either a word, a phrase, or user ID or IP, and other things.
And they get blocked. They get blocked for a lifetime, or we have a period they get blocked for.
No, they block permanently.
Okay, so let's pick another one here. Thank you for that. So are there any statistics about the difference in behavior or comments being blocked between logged and anonymous users?
Yeah, so at the moment we don't have really logged in users commenting. So I would assume that, of course, most spam coming from anonymous users, because if you have some overhead to register to confirm your email, then that will be a bit more difficult to get back to the website again, and you will have to have a new email or something. So this measurement would really prevent a lot of spam to happen. That's for sure. It's maybe a bit like also complication for those users who at the moment not willing to register. They just want to quickly leave a comment. Maybe that will introduce more complication for them, but that will certainly block more spam. And our goal is to make it as comfortable as possible for those people who just want to have a normal discussion, to simplify this as we can for them, but still prevent those who want to write inappropriate comments.
Okay, cool. I have time for two more. So there's two that we can combine somehow here. So you work a lot on the content of the comments itself, right? But do you have any measures that go towards the registration of those accounts? Maybe you can have disposable emails, and then you just create those fake accounts. So you might block the content, but the creation of new registers, does that work in that end? How it works there?
Yeah, so we don't really work on that, because it's still possible to write a comment without registrations. So that is why when we introduce this, then we might put some more attention to registration, and to make sure that it's not possible to do with automated ways. And we already protected from automated comments. So basically, all the comments that, let's say, all the spam comments that we are getting, it's exclusively only people writing explicitly for our platform without scripts, but doing this manually. And there are many signs of this, because as soon as we introduce some filter, they kind of like adjust or adapt their ways of writing. And also we use reCAPTCHA, even though it's zero overhead for a user, but still in the background we have this check for automated usage of our form.
Okay. So let's take the last one. Have 2 minutes. So how does it work with the API and the Swiss German? I'm pretty sure the language is a challenge for you.
True. Good question. To be honest, I don't have a statistic for that.
But does the API support Swiss German by default?
It still recognizes it as German. We don't have we have a language recognition, and most of the time, from what I saw, if it's not like really heavy into using some specific words that might be like specific for a certain region, then it's still able to recognize it as German. I cannot tell how good this algorithm. So that is something that we leave for Perspective API to. And yeah, exactly for those words, we actually also introduce block lists because maybe usage of such words that are only specific to certain region that can be recognized by the Perspective API as toxic comment, even though we know those specific words and we just introduce them in the block list, and that is how we fight with those kind of like.
Interesting, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We need to cut through the schedule here. I will take your email. I will share here on the chat if people have more questions. Maybe they can send directly to you.
Yeah, great.
Thank you very much, and we'll be back soon.